DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages.
What is next for accused assassin Tyler Robinson? Let's bring in our guests who are going to help us break that down. We have with us federal white-collar crimes advisor and sentencing mitigation expert Sam Mangle with us, and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Lindsay Richards. Sam Mangle, I want to start with you. This is a case where the prosecution has filed their notice of intent to seek the death penalty. How complicated does that turn a case once that file hits the docket?
Well, obviously, each state's process for adjudicating and determining death penalty is different. I can only speak of what will happen if he is convicted, found guilty, and then subsequently determined that the death penalty is the most appropriate, for him. Right now, you're seeing him being held on a suicide watch. That's why he's wearing a green suicide smock. It's something that you can't rip, tear. There's no chance that he can commit suicide. Goal now is to keep him alive for trial and justice. This young man killed a father, a husband, and what's in store for him will be, in some ways, he will be looking forward to the death penalty. Being in a Utah State prison, unless he's on protective custody, he's in many ways similar to Brian Kohlberger, except his end might be more determining. So what's in store for him? Nothing good. What he did was heinous, and the people and the other inmates where he goes will realize that.
Lindsay Richards, we listened together to the way that he was handed over to police, the way he turned himself in. Is that going to have any impact on this case? If not the guilt phase, perhaps the sentencing phase?
Right. So the interesting thing about Utah and the death penalty and the way that they've charged him is that they've charged him with aggravated murder. And they have to show that the aggravating circumstances outweigh any mitigating circumstances in Utah, under Utah law. So, we don't know what these mitigating circumstances could be. I think it's safe to say that this is headed towards a trial of some kind. I mean, if he's facing the death penalty, he doesn't really have much of a choice other than just to go to trial. I think most lawyers would agree with that. But the way that they've charged him essentially is the aggravating circumstance is that he put others at risk of death and harm. And so that's the way that they've charged it in Utah, to make it an aggravating circumstance. And I think it's safe to say firing a bullet into a crowd puts others at risk of death and harm. And so I don't think they're going to have much trouble proving that. But certainly the way that he maybe turned himself in, being suicidal, those could potentially be, for whoever his attorneys end up being, the mitigating factors that they would present in this trial.
And Sam Mangle, no doubt these defense attorneys are going to be trying everything to get a deal, to get death off the table. But do you think this is one of those cases? You mentioned the Idaho University student killer who did get a deal and shocked a lot of people in the public. Do you think that this is one where prosecutors will not budge on a deal?
From what I've seen so far, between the group of prosecutors that are currently on the case, and certainly the public perception and pressure that's going to be and has been exerted by very, very high officials from the president down, I do believe that this will be pursued as a death penalty case. And I'm not giving a legal opinion. I think I'll leave that for the attorney. But just looking at it from my point of view and the way I've seen other trials and sentences happen in the white-collar arena, I have no doubt that the government and the state of Utah will pursue this to the fullest extent as a death penalty case.
Lindsay, do you think there's anything that could come out in a perhaps mental health evaluation that could change that position for prosecutors?
I certainly think there could be things that come out in a mental health evaluation. I am not a psychiatrist of any kind, but I think it's safe to say he probably suffers from some sort of mental health issues. Now, whether that's going to deter anyone from continuing to seek the death penalty, probably not in this particular case, and how, this was an assassination. I just don't see them backing down from the death penalty in this particular case.
Sam, final thoughts on what you think we are going to see next in terms of him being in court. He's already had his first appearance, but anything you think we're going to be looking out for to be the next part of this case?
Whatever the result of the case is and however he's adjudicated and due to the nature of his crime, whatever remaining time he has left, whether it's through the death penalty or a life sentence, he will have the worst existence, and in my opinion, he will not live long in state prison.
Sam Mangle and Lindsay Richards, thank you so much. Sorry to have to cut you off, Sam, but we appreciate your analysis. We do have to hit our break.